Hello everyone, welcome to another Q&A. We're a little bit tardy on this one, but we've finally got round to doing it and we're going to try and answer all your questions for June. But a question we have to get to first is one from Cubert, who we actually forgot to answer from May. So we're really trying to clear a bit of a backlog of questions here, but we can do it. And this one is actually a little bit more for Unter and Chris and myself. And the question is, how does roster construction for collegiate even work? Are there restrictions that you have that you don't normally with other teams? Other than the fact that they have to go to college, is it even realistic for you to make adjustments to the roster to do better in OWCS if you wanted to do that?
I guess I'll start on this one, see if Chrissy has anything to add at the end. I think you need to put the school first above the OWCS stuff all the time. You know, OWCS is very much an afterthought for the majority of the schools, if not all of them, because, you know, they're assembling teams that are supposed to be together for competing in collegiate-related events. I think there's like a bit of an interesting dynamic where a couple of the top schools, they want the team to compete together outside of the collegiate competition, and then a couple of schools want the teams to just do whatever the fuck they want in that time. But I think everyone is moving towards a model where they can do whatever they want in that time, and maybe because they've realized that if you have to play together for the same competition, you have all of these issues where it's like, what if you want to pick someone up from another team and they don't want to leave their team, so now they don't want to come to your school, stuff like that. So this Winthrop is basically just a roster of all of the top talent in North America pretty much. But if you were to force them to play together outside of it, it probably wouldn't work because you've got people like all on different teams in OWCS. And maybe Northwood would have been a better example of that, actually, because Northwood is like a real mixed bag of people from different teams. What was the other part of that question? There was something else in there.
I felt like, I guess like one thing that is true is like the ability to recruit for collegiate is also like directly correlated to the strength of the scene. So the better the scene is doing, the harder it is to get good players, because I think most players would prefer very few players want to go to college over being a pro. Like pro is like the ultimate end goal. But as the scene itself dies, then actually all of a sudden you start to see good players who kind of see the writing on the wall and recognize, well, fuck it, Overwatch is a bit cooked, but a free education out of this, whilst we're getting to participate is probably the best way that I can make something out of this passion.
Yeah, that was a part of my pitch to the Maryville guys for the end of the year, where it was like, if you want to make some roster changes, maybe save it for the end of the year, because then the first full year of post Overwatch League scene will have basically been completed, and you'll have a bunch of people that are aspiring professionals or ongoing professionals that will see the writing on the wall, because they will basically, if they're not on Toronto Defiant, and they're in the North American scene, they'll realize that there's absolutely no money in it for them anymore. So the only way that they can possibly continue to play pro Overwatch while having any sort of sustainable housing or income, or maybe not so much income, but more the housing and support component, then collegiate is the only way forward. But even that, I'd say it's a bit of a question mark in terms of like how healthy is the collegiate scene long term as well. I'm not sure that anyone really knows that. You get a lot of optimistic answers from people, but I'm not entirely sure about the sustainability of any of it. I think collegiate is an extension of the esports scene, even though it's in the tertiary education system. Full ride scholarships to play Overwatch in a couple of online tournaments a year it's a big deal.
One thing that I felt was interesting was that when I was talking to Maryville about it, the directors, or the people that my bosses, effectively, I guess your bosses now, they were super oh, let's just get like a Korean or get really good players. It felt like actually for their motivation was getting the best players. And I'm like, well, if we get a Korean that doesn't speak English, then presumably this school element is totally fucked. And honestly, they were a little bit to me fuck it, what happens, And I always thought that was interesting, because I felt that as a person, my responsibility was to make sure that you gave scholarships to people who wanted a scholarship and weren't going to just drop out the second that there was a better thing. But it felt somewhere from upper management that they almost had a more ruthless Overwatch pilled point of view of it. That was something that I found kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think. Oh, there you go.
I was going to say, is there much gain for the colleges, if they do particularly well in the collegiate system in terms of they win the tournaments, is there much kind of reward for them in terms of the colleges, either financially or in any other form?
And so I'm not too sure about the school as a whole. Obviously, the school, like when they're creating these programs, they want to succeed in the programs competitively. So they need to perform in the metrics in order for them to be happy with the program directors and whatnot. Like if they've made a scholarship program just to lose every game all the time, then I'd imagine that would be a problem from an administrative standpoint. Even if there is no financial return on the program, there still needs to be some way that it's being justified to people, right? And if you put together this team, you give everyone a scholarship and all they do is get fucked, then that's not a good look. So I'm sure that winning is important just from a standpoint of someone answering to their boss. You know what I mean? Because if they've put together this program, it must look like it's successful, even if the fundamentals behind it of financial success or whatever the fuck the justification is for the program existing is. Even if those fundamentals aren't really there, the bare minimum is that the team looks like it's doing well. You know what I mean? And then I think it goes a step further where I think at certain schools, people may potentially be getting, like performance-based bonuses. It's like the team does well, the team wins a national title, and then people get more money. So maybe for the case of Chris with Maryville, he's talking about like, they're really happy to like get Koreans, stack the roster, do well. Doesn't matter if these guys fuck up in school down the line. Maybe some of the origin of that is that there's like a performance-based incentive behind it.
I think somewhere there is like I don't know if advertising is the right word, but like I think every school in the US wants to like appeal, like wants to have something, like that's why some teams have a really good basketball program. So you have a really good swimming program. And it's not necessarily like a financial return. It's more because you want to be good at something. And I feel like in the esports, it's like, we run a really, really good esports program. That's something that they can like pitch to certain like demographics, I think. So I feel like for some of them, the idea was like, even if we win, even if it's a net loss, the same way that, the same way that Harvard boasts a good football team. I don't think it does. But like they can say, yeah, like if you are interested in like gaming and esports, this is actually quite a good college for you. And then they can appeal to like, this is what our school is excellent at, if that makes sense.
I guess it makes sense that, if you to ask me, can I name American colleges? Maryville and Winthrop are actually two I can name pretty consistently that I wouldn't have been able to name before. So maybe when there's like the younger generation coming up and picking colleges, the fact that they're just a name you recognize is probably like a
because I'm sure the only colleges we as Britons would know would be ones with like really good like NBA Harvard, program or NFL program or like the big dogs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that was a solid 50 minutes. So we might have missed your question, but we gave you an unbelievable answer.
Yeah, no, there's depth.
Yeah.
And then
for all the orange questions, you're not getting depth, buddy.
Yeah, no.
No fun in that here.
Well, the first question from actual June is not from Orange, so it's actually just quite a classic Q&A question. MechMac asks, when we bring guests on, to what extent do they know what you ask them? Do you agree to not discuss some topics? We don't really brief anyone. I don't know if any of the guests, when you've sort of been like the liaison, have really asked too much. Like some will ask what they're going to talk about, but I only say like, we'll talk about the results. We'll maybe talk about some Overwatch League stuff from whatever season seems relevant.
I feel like it's better if they don't know. I feel like if you like preload every question, they have like their answer. They overthink it. You don't get any like. So actually, I think we have a run of show for the hosts, and we know what we're going to go to. But I actually think most of the time the guests are just there to answer.
Yeah, I've only ever had difficulty with one of the guests getting them on, and it was Rack Attack, would you believe? Because he didn't want to spill any juice about Avala, and he didn't want to appear mean because he's such a nice guy. And for him, it was like, I had to tell him, like, I'm not going to give you the run of show. I'm not going to give you the questions in advance. We'll just talk and like, we'll try and bring whatever we can out of you. But, at the end of the day, there's no obligation for you to be mean to someone. As everyone knows, he's a nice guy. But beyond that, I think everyone is kind of just happy to come on and say their piece.
I think some people, my impression I get from some of the guests is, especially once we've done a few episodes, a few people maybe came on with not like fully prepared, but they had like anecdotes in mind, right? Like I think when Kasaurus came on the first time, it felt like he'd almost, he'd put the anecdote documents together in terms of like he had a few stories ready to go because he sort of knew it was the case. But yeah, no, we kind of just get people on and then see what happens. It's not super prepared. As you can maybe tell by the fact that we're doing the June Q&A halfway through July. Then his next question is from Big Arms Jacob, who we might know a little bit better as Peterphile, or I think he's also actually Fuck Team Peps on Twitch as well.
That's a good name.
So a man of many names and many faces. And
Big Arms Jacob, Janglin8362, Sentinels employee, Fuck Team Peps. This guy's got it all. Wow.
Yeah, he's got his fingers in many pies. And what they want to know is, do you think once you have left the Overwatch scene, you will stay friends with many people?
I think not. I mean, my evidence is almost everyone that has left Overwatch I no longer speak to. I think, at least me, but I think also most gamers are terrible at like making the first contact with people. So I feel like for me, I'll hopefully still talk to X. I'll hopefully still talk to Astro, maybe. I think especially those in the UK where there's like an actual opportunity of meeting them again, because I just fucking go see them or they come see me in my spare bedroom. You can sleep here if you want. X, come to Newcastle, no hotel. But yeah, I think most, I suspect not.
Quite pleased to have not been mentioned there. Thank you.
I was thinking that. I was like, it's unbelievable that I'm just not going to make this short list.
I mean, my feeling is we won't talk as much once Overwatch is dead. But
I don't know why you're getting that feeling, to be honest. I feel like we have such a friendly
we also almost never talk as it is, Max. Right now, what we're doing is our socialization monthly. But I love it, okay?
Yeah, no, I can't believe this. Honestly, I can't believe you didn't make the shortlist.
You're saying, do we need to keep the Q&A going just to keep our friendship
alive?
alive?
Even if we don't release it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, without this podcast, I wouldn't know you guys. Yeah, I don't know about UX. For me, I feel like all the Overwatch League people that I've met, it's like if I visit a certain country, I think I'll go and hang out with people. You know what I mean? I don't think I'll have regular contact with the vast majority. Everyone's international. Nobody's Australian. All the people that I've made that are like, I don't know if lifelong is the right term, but like the really long-term friends that I've made through Overwatch, it's people that I met like 6-7 years 6-7 years ago when I was competing against them and with them, that sort of stuff. Like it's dudes that are like my age and they're Australian, and like now we're really good friends in real life, whereas the people that I have the online friendships with and stuff like that, I think that for the most part, when the common interest of Overwatch is cut out of it, that's probably gonna go to God. But maybe I swing by their country and then we go out and get pissed together or whatever, because it's like we're mates, but we're not like it's hard to maintain a friendship across the other side of the world if you cut the common interest out.
Yeah, well, my experience, because I've sort of had this with TF2 already, there's obviously, I've left TF2, and as such, everyone in TF2, if you ask me about them now, I'm sure if any of them pop up on my stream, I'll have nothing but praise, like, I fucking love those guys. And if you were to ask me, well, when's the last time you spoke to them? I was like, the last time we were at LAN together, like, 8 years ago. And vice versa, right? You see the same with, like, my Sideshow and Bren, like, nothing but love for each other, but also no form of contact, right? And I mean, I think that's fine, There's a few people in TF2 who have, I guess, like transcended the gamer friend to IRL friend arc for me. But yeah, I imagine most people just sit in that category of nothing against them, but we won't be chatting regularly.
Fuck. Yeah, I mean, even for me, like Cruz when I was in the Overwatch League was actually my best friend. Like we were like actually inseparable, like best friends for life. And then the second he retired, I've spoke to him like twice since then. And it's like if mine and Cruz's relationship, which was genuinely like really, really, really good friends, like neither of us reached out, then it's just probably fucking cooked for almost everyone,
But if you bumped into Cruz, just so happened to be in the same pub, 100%. It would be like,
yeah,
exactly, 100%. Yeah. I think that's, yeah.
I think Smex might be coming up to Newcastle to visit me, so he's going to sleep in this bed, so you can get second dibs after Smex. But like that's it. Like I think like what Max said, like if you're in France or like if I'm in Korea, I've probably got like I'd beat like Roston if he's there. I'd meet Carpe, but yeah, for most it's like unless we're actually in the same country, and even then, yeah, depending on who you are, If I'm in Estonia,
Yeah, win in Estonia.
Well, I know who to call. And then, again, Big Arms Jacob, is there anything you're passionate about other than Overwatch? There's lots of things I have an interest in. Passionate maybe feels like too strong a word, but like a lot of football is probably the obvious one, probably the same for Chris as well. I watch quite a lot of other esports as well. I'm kind of just into it. Like whatever the game is, whether it's like Evo, like the fighting game championships, or if it's like StarCraft or Age of Empires, I'm quite happy to watch any of it. So I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm passionate about competition. Some kind of battle between two individuals I can really get behind.
My main two passions, football and the ongoing culture war. That's the only two things that I really pay attention to.
Yeah, I don't know. Getting paid. That's something. Got any passions? No. I'm at the lost adult period of my life. No passions.
Creeping up on that midlife crisis real quick.
I think I'm actually too late to call this a quarter life crisis. Like I'm almost 27, so I've like almost skipped the boat for a quarter life crisis.
When did my quarter life crisis happen? It was maybe 2020. So I would have been 24. Yeah, so you're a few years after my quarter life crisis.
Yeah, my quarter life crisis happened when I was 25. To be fair, that was definitely the time where I got struck with crises. So we're past that now.
Good.
I think I might have been at age as well. I got to be
You were
real
all
thing.
the way through your life, yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thing, unfortunately.
Fuck.
Yeah.
All right. Then from House, what is the most common issue you guys have seen when coaching teams? And then a sort of on a bit of a tangent. When coaching your teams, how do you deal with players that have very narrow hero pools and refuse to improve it? If you couldn't drop them, how would you work around the issue? So,
Not play them.
Yeah, I mean,
Play the heroes that they're good at.
Yeah, normally. It depends what school of thought you come to. Like I think I don't know. I guess like somewhere I think Max is like more of he really believes this. Like people like don't change effectively. Like if you're not good at something now, you just won't be good at something. I think he's probably right more often than not. Like I think especially once players hit like a certain age or like a certain thing, like I just don't like, for me, like Psycho right now is in that like youthful age where like when Farah became meta and stuff, like I can see he picks it up really quickly, because he's still got that like youthful like liquid brain, so it can be molded. But I think certain other players on my team, it's like, like you're kind of like the way that you view the game and the way that your ego is attached to the game, it's really hard for you to not be good at something. So you're kind of stuck where you are.
Yeah, I think that, like younger players, generally speaking, they play the game like way more. They're not at the stage of their careers or whatever, or at their time with the game that they're like, oh, I'm so sick of this game, I can't stand it. I play ranked for an hour and get tilted and log off, stuff like that. I think you'll generally find it's like more the younger players that are willing to just like sit down and play ranked for 10 hours a day when they suck at something, and then you'll see the trajectory of improvement. Often they'll be a little bit more open-minded and whatnot as well. I think once people get older, they get sick of the game. They get more of an ego about, like how their past understanding will inform their future understanding of things. So then it's harder to change their mind than anything. And it's probably harder for them to deal with change. I think Overwatch is a terrible, terrible game to be a pro in for like a long period of time because there's so much change all the time, just too many variables in Overwatch between maps and game types and heroes and whatnot. A game like League of Legends, it has like big variety in champs, obviously, but then you're playing on one map forever, for your entire career. The fundamentals remain the same. But with Overwatch, like there's so much change that's taken place. Obviously, the fundamentals are still there across all of that, but there is a lot going on in Overwatch, and there's like still constant change. Even when the game has been in a really stale state, there's still just so much going on with all of these, like so many different maps, so many different heroes, all this balance changes over and over and over again. It's a lot to keep up with, and if you're not really hungry for that sort of stuff, good luck.
You get left behind real quick.
Yeah. So play your one tricks.
And what about the most common issue when coaching a team?
And I think the hardest issue for teams is no one has a fucking clue what anyone on their team is doing, unless you just have like a relentless, like all-in tempo, actually teams have absolutely no idea about how to push on your tank's timing or how to like let your backline peel before taking a million damage. Like every single, I mean, this is true even in fucking OWCS, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, even my team sometimes has it, but I think we're relatively good at Overwatch. It's like the hardest thing is figuring out like what your teammates' timings means for you. It's like classic like Spilo theory that everything is just like angles. Everything is actually just timing in Overwatch, you know? Like, just do things when it makes sense to do them for your team, and you'll win every single time.
Yeah, I think that a big part of the problem is that, you know, like the best place for most people to learn, at least like in the early to mid stages of their careers, is through ranked. You know, it's through like the hours that you put in individually, and there, like ranked is so unstructured and like such a low level of team play that you're very like overwhelmingly rewarded for almost not being a good team player, in the sense that, you know, like if you play selfishly, if you play to not die for yourself, or you play for your own maximum impact all the time, because you can't be relying on the random pug teammates that you have every single game, you're almost negatively rewarded for building up those team play skills, in a sense, in ranked. So then, you know, you get even to like the highest levels of professional play, and you'll find that people are like, you know, in many ways, people can still be solo queue players. Like Chris said, they don't have this awareness of what their team is doing, and people's ability to do things together is actually quite low. People like everyone gets to a level in pro play where they can talk, but I think that like, even in the absolute top level, the people that can actually listen, it's a very small percentage. I remember like even like going and watching the London scrims at the end of 2023 and being like, holy shit. Like I think I was watching Jamie. I think I was watching Backbone play Sim or something. And I was like, holy fuck. Like this guy, like he listens so much better than Kevstar, you know? Like I was thinking about like, what would Kevin be doing in this situation? And it's like, Kevin wouldn't be missing a shot and his movement would be insane and he would win his 1v1, but he wouldn't turn around and he wouldn't abandon the kill that he was about to get to turn around and save the guy behind him because they started screeching for help. And that was like that was the London team play difference, you know? Like you could see that their level of team play was actually just higher because they had more people that respected that concept.
I miss those days.
Yeah, no, you're a bunch of fucking bots. Jamie's too old.
And then, completely different tangent. What do we think of these shoes?
Fire.
I can't see the shoes, but they're probably good, mate. Probably good. Are they white? I think
they're cars Crocs.
Cars.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Sold. All right. Then there's a lot of yapping back and forth in the Q&A this time. This question maybe lines up with this one. Big Arms Jacob asked, do you regret starting the Q&A sometimes?
No, not really.
No. I actually have an idea that I'm going to pitch to the other guys, but I'm going to do it on this for peer pressure. I feel like we should start releasing the Q&As onto YouTube for everyone to see. Like if we're in June now, do like
delayed.
Yeah. I actually think this is like low-key good content. I feel like in a way it's almost like better sometimes than the actual podcast, because like, especially the one we did this week, it's like, fuck, like some of the shit that's alright is just fucking boring. Sorry to say Overwatch Pro scene, but it's fucking boring. Whereas some of this stuff, I think it's more fun.
I guess, but people would have probably watched for Kasaurus 2 by the time they watched this, but I think like that episode was very much like, it's like an Overwatch nerd. It's like, do you want to talk about ban theory?
It was a Kasaurus app. Like.
Yeah. But like, the ban theory is really interesting, but I also feel like the ban theory is only interesting. It's only interesting.
It's interesting to me and Kasaurus.
I think, you know, before we pull the trigger on this suggestion, we should poll our subscribers and see for what reason are they subscribed. Because if too many people are subscribed to view the Q&A, then we can't possibly make it a public only perk. You know, I think if people want to, because we have a lot of people in this channel, right? Like in this Q&A channel, I see like more than 30 people in this section. So you know,
well, I guess the argument would be.
People,
only patrons can ask the questions, and only patrons get it like in the first 2 months of the release, but then 2 months later, or we like release them and then we do a special patron, like we do it. I mean, that I'm never gonna get this idea past YouTube, but we do like a monthly Q&A and a patron. So we do two Q&As, one for the public, one for the. I don't know.
Yeah, you're mad.
Yeah.
This guy loves Q&As.
I just love talking to you guys, you know. I'm so lonely.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the day that I've quit Overwatch so I can never do that again. You know?
What you're seeing, the theme of this Q&A is Chris desperately trying to keep these friendships alive, trying to get more podcasts on the go, inviting me to stay in his spare room. Like, please.
These guys love me.
All right. Where am I now? This one is from Rock, and he says, this one is for Chris. After seeing Crazy Raccoon win on their bull comp, have you and SSG reassessed the viability of it, or is the fact that Jumbin is Max Verstappen and Haddy is your average drunk driver on bull make the gap too big for you guys to make it work?
We are playing quite a bit of ball these days, and Haddy's actually very, very, very good at ball. Like, yeah, really, really solid at it.
Hold on, I'm skimming through the nonsense. So this one is actually from JR Smithsonian, who I think might not be able to see the response to this. But he says, he asked Hunter, have you gotten in contact with Reiner ever? And the context is, this is when everyone started adding context to their questions. And the context is Smithsonian was watching Jumping Ball and thinking of the Beijing baller.
Yeah, I still talk to Rana every now and then. You know, it's not like he's not a daily conversationalist, but you know, every now and then he'll pop into my direct messages to say something. Something is where I'll leave it. Yeah,
something extremely offensive to the general audience.
Yeah, you know, it's only like half of the time he's telling me to kill myself, so that's cool.
All right, this one is from Oren. Is this actually our first Oren question? It's our first Oren question. Last. Yeah, no, and this is so the question is, who was the biggest loser you have ever worked with? And the context for this is he thought of this question while watching the Unter Nonce clip, and he's also specified we cannot say Yaki.
Loser's pretty loaded.
Loser's pretty mean.
Like I've worked with people who are like dysfunctional. If you know, like as in the person least, he feels like they can least function in the real world
to attack the real world.
I don't know if I call them like a loser. You know, like I just say like, I guess client is probably actually the word I'd use. You know, like this person won't be able to function in the real world.
And I think we've already said that too. Like we've already answered that in a way. I don't know. Maybe this is like a recency bias. I remember last year was pretty fucked up. You know, like last year never like particularly wanted to like come out and drink with the boys or whatever. He would like literally live in the office. Like he would play MapleStory for like 14 hours a day. He'd go home. He went home to Korea and he just like, I'm pretty sure he turned it into 16 hours a day of MapleStory instead. Like I think some of the guys are like pretty hardcore like video game addicts. I'm quite sure they've never felt the touch of a woman. So you know maybe that's the kind of vibe we're looking for. But, you know, like we're dealing with a pool of people that sit in front of a computer all day playing video games. So I think the question is almost too loaded. And I liked last year, so I can't go call him a fucking loser, you know. Like he had some winning quality. He had winning qualities. Yeah.
But I agree, because I think if I had to pick like a person who felt maybe the least equipped to handle the real world, I'd maybe go Jofi from like British Hurricane. But also, he was likable, you know. I don't actually...
Yovi's living the life now, dude. Farming strawberries. Yeah.
He's farming strawberries?
He's a farmer.
Oh.
Yofi got really mad because, sorry, Chris. Yofi got really mad because Defran was tweeting about the farming stuff, and Yofi was like, this is like stolen valor for farming. He's not a real fucking farmer. He's just buying a bunch of equipment and letting some crops die. I'm a farmer, you know? Like, like that's not a loser. That's a working man.
I know him. I only knew him pre-farm. Post-farm Jofi.
I think the biggest one for me is Khan, you know? Like, I think...
Oh, yeah, mate, yeah.
Khan really struggled with, like, the basics of life, you know? Like, everyone... Like, it was like, if you had, like, 2 weeks off, okay? The more degenerate players would, like... Their sleep schedule would, like, get worse and worse and worse. But most of them, when we were in the routine of the season, was able to keep it. Khan could not keep that sleeping schedule. Even if he had to be up at 9 a.m., like he just could never keep like the same hours he would sleep. And he would blame monkeypox, unironically, and he'd blame all of these different things. But I think, Khan is like one of those people that like, I don't know, he could actually be dead right now, and I feel like no one would know. Like as far as I'm aware, like completely cut ties with everyone, like quit out the game, and actually was an insane talent, by the way. Was actually so good at Overwatch. Like, actually, I think on mechanics could have, if not was the best Western flex support. Unironically, when I watched him play Zen and Ana, I was like, oh my god, this guy is so fucking good. But he just couldn't. Everything that came with being a pro or being like a functioning person, he struggled with.
Yeah, I think the one that always stands out for me with Khan is when we would have an off day. And then what would happen on most off days is everyone would still come into, because our office was just a team house. So some people lived upstairs, some people lived in a house just down the street. But everyone would come because that's where the computers were, right? So what the fuck else are we going to do? Maybe we'll watch some of the games or just play a bit of ranked or whatever. And Khan would never come on the off days. He would just sit in one of the houses, which I think he was the only person from the Overwatch team in that house. And he would just sit there on his phone all day and wouldn't come and interact or anything like that. And it always just felt a little bit like, I don't know exactly why, but yeah, never felt like he was part of a team in the way everyone else was really. But another classic Oren question. What is the worst thing you have done? And the context for this is Oren once stole a wheelchair, so that memory led to this question.
Where's drink? Oh, okay. I actually know what it is. I know what it is. So when I was in school, okay, I started running with the wrong crowd, okay? And our crowd was like, because we went to we didn't go to a rough school by any means. It wasn't like a private school, but I guess as far as public schools go, it's like one of the best ones, especially in Newcastle, because you got a few rough areas, let's say. And I started to run with these guys. And what we used to do was this is like high school, so I don't know, I was like 14, 15. We used to go around like stealing stuff from classrooms at lunchtime. That was just our like favorite thing. So we just someone would keep lookout and we'd go and we'd just steal like random shit, like scissors and fucking felt tip pens and stuff that we had it was just the thrill of the hunt, that's just what we used to do. And one day we got into one of the history teacher's room and we checked his desk and he had his fucking lunch money in. So on 2 separate occasions, we stole one of the teacher's lunch money. Presumably we spent it. And then the poor guy didn't get to eat lunch, presumably. And then I'm guessing he would stop leaving his fucking lunch money in his unlocked desk in an open room. But that was actually the peak of my degeneracy at school.
I'm trying to think. It was probably one of the things where, after it happens and you're just like, why the fuck did I do all of these things? But there was a girl I was like on and off seeing, and it was the first girl I'd sort of been properly on and off seeing. So when you first fall for a girl and you just become the most insane person in the world. So became the most insane person in the world. And then I was drunk one night. It was when I was at uni. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll go over to her house. It was like 3 a.m. or something. She hadn't responded to my text, but I thought I'd be in my head, I was like, I'll be like a romantic, turn up on the doorstep, it'll be romantic. She'll be impressed, And then I get there, I'm banging on the door for ages. She eventually comes and answers the door. She is not impressed. It is not the big romantic gesture that she was hoping for, or that I was hoping it would be. And then I come in, I realize at that point, I've actually drunk too much. And I need to go throw up. So I go to throw up, don't make it to the bathroom, just throw up on her floor. At which point, she asked me to leave, which I think is probably reasonable. And then I make my way back home. And I remember afterwards thinking, all completely unnecessary. There was no need. You did this all off your own volition. You could have avoided this entire situation. You could have just gone to bed. But no, you decided to go. And that relationship didn't last that long for some reason or another. Okay, can't figure it out to this day.
Yeah, I've got nothing for this question. Prefer not to answer.
Nice.
Oh wait, this is other people just confessing to their worst thing.
It's Orange Slayer. How can I get a girlfriend?
How can I get a girlfriend?
Next question.
So I just find someone. I'll go on.
Wait. I think if you up your sub to the Uncoachable Patreon, you stop being like a $20 sub and you start giving us like $50 a month, and it will just kind of come to you naturally, to be honest. My understanding is that the people that pay lots of money to Uncoachable rather than just a little bit of money, typically they do better with women and they feel less of a sense of loneliness. So that would be my advice to you.
Well, Johnny Reinforce, one of our biggest supporter, married.
He put a ring on it, didn't he? Yep.
Yeah, it worked. Literally, You can't really argue with the data. Where are we? Okay, Orange Slayer again. Thoughts on the LGBT community? Context: I keep seeing femboys on my TikTok recommended, and it is starting to piss me off.
Nothing but love.
All love.
Also,
the little hot hands, you know.
Yeah.
Can we get a thumbnail, X?
I do. Where's my camera? There we go.
Perfect. I like how you lined it up with your head, like clean backdrop.
And then a series of questions from other people about Oren. How do you think Oren keeps coming up with these random questions? And then also,
it has to have something to do with the loneliness and the lack of girlfriend. Like these have to be correlated in some sort of way. You know?
I think that was more of the why than the how. You know, the next question was from Big Arms Jacob querying why. So I think the loneliness comes into it. But the how, I mean, that's just a ridiculous question from Rock, because you can see the context of Orange Slayer's questions. He's actually providing them. So talk about an absence of media literacy, Rock, because he's literally explaining to you right there how.
All right. Then I guess maybe an existential one from Rock to follow this up. What are your thoughts on the fact that your life is just a blip in the existence of the universe and that everything you do is ultimately meaningless, yet you have chosen to be podcasters for a dead esport in a dead game? Well, I actually think the first part of that answers the second part of it.
Yeah, fuck it. Do what you love.
Have some fun, exactly.
As I said, these social gatherings are the highlight of my week or my bye week. You know, so do what you love. That's why I want to do more of it, you know? Let's make a weekly Q&A, Max.
Could be good. And my feeling is, I say this picture a lot, you know, you only live once, so try and spend as much time as possible on the computer. That's why I do
it. Perfect. Then Oren asks, is this a real question? Good on you, Oren.
Do you go off, mate.
Do you think coaches sometimes need to be rude / arseholes to people in order to be a good coach? Context, thinking about Goomba. Yeah. I think like if you're just nice all the time, every team is inevitably going to get to a certain point where they're either complacent or they're not putting in the effort or they're just being arseholes or unreasonable, where someone needs to be the sort of figure of authority to draw them in line. So I think it's a necessary part of being a coach.
I guess the question would be, you have to be rude. Like, is there a way to be like strict and like angry without necessarily being like rude about it, you know? But maybe it's not possible. But yeah, I don't know. I think that, yeah, probably somewhere that like the good cop requires the bad cop in order for the good cop to still be able to arrest people on the streets.
Yeah, I think that you can get by like 90 to 95% of the time without being rude at all. But at the end of the day, you know, there needs to be the occasional moment where, you know, you're capable of being extremely rude and, you know, getting angry, because I think that can be quite effective as well. I think that teams are stressful environments, and players are often, you know, they're not professionals, they're children. So, you know, sometimes you need to be a bit more aggressive than perhaps you would be in a HR friendly environment like of a workplace. You know, I'd say that, you know, 100% of your time spent in a workplace, you should never get really angry or rude with people, you know, but this is not a normal workplace. This is like a competitive environment where you're dealing with, you know, petulant man children. So at times the anger is necessary, I think, and the rudeness is necessary, but it's the minority. Gumba's probably not the greatest example. You know, that's someone that may be a little bit too far on the end of aggressive or rude.
And then also from Oren, favorite single player / narrative driven video game. The context is they just finished their Firewatch playthrough.
I literally never play single player games, but Skyrim was really fucking good.
I never play single player games, I think.
Probably Dark Souls for me. It's probably my favorite single player game. Although it has multiplayer components and the narrative driven element needs to be teased out through YouTube videos because the lore is a little bit too obscure. But yeah.
I actually don't think I have one. I played like whenever I play a game, I just play the same game all the time. And it's always like a TF2, an Overwatch, or like a Star Wars Battlefront, all ones that are just like load into a lobby and just shoot stuff for X period of time, you know, or Football Manager. I don't know if you'd really call that a narrative-driven game. But yeah, not really my type of game. Then we might not do all of this. So Rock asked, can we rank the top 5 most likely and least likely players you've worked with to survive outside of esports? So 5's probably too many. Because that would be 30
Can we just do
people.
top 1, bottom 1?
Top 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Funny Astro 1.
Yeah, Funny Astro 1, Con, other 1, -1.
Yeah, Funny Astro 1, Lastro bottom.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to mirror the Astro Khan.
Fine.
Certainly like honorable mentions other than Astro, because I mean everyone knows that Astro is financially responsible. God, who was normal?
Carpe, this guy has so much money.
Because he's just giga rich.
He's invested it so well. He has like real estate and shit. So this guy is like totally he's a ruthless businessman already, you know? Like for sure, this guy is fucking rich forever. Like he did everything right with it. I guess Poco would be the other one. Poco is like excellent. Like he'll be fine outside of esports, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that all seems reasonable.
Yeah. All right.
And then another one from Rock. The most egregious thing one of your players has said.
All right, ignoring any like unrepeatable comments. I think something like Dante, maybe not a particular thing, but I think just like the consistency with which Dante managed to come out with things that would indicate to you that perhaps he suffered a traumatic brain injury as a child or something was just like incredible, you know? Like this is a guy that's like a fully grown 25-year-old man that would just come in and blow you away with his lack of knowledge of the real world every single day. But then apart from like not having knowledge of things that occur in the real world, he would also just like, he would have the mind of a child at times. Like I remember I think we were in the gym together, or maybe we were even in the office together, because he would take his clothes off in the office too. And he was holding his t-shirt and he just started like laughing almost maniacally to himself. And it's like, what's going on here, Dante? And he's like, isn't it crazy that this t-shirt can cover your whole body, but it fits in your hand? Because he's like got it bunched up in his hand. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, what is wrong with you? That's the level of childlike wonder that Dante approaches day-to-day life with. So that's probably like egregious to me, that a 25-year-old guy was just getting blown away with the idea that like a cloth or like a linen t-shirt could be compressed. It wasn't linen. It's definitely like polyester or something, cotton.
I feel like for me, the most dumb thing I ever saw anyone say was Lethal's dinosaur situation, but I think maybe we shouldn't out him for it, you know?
So many of the Lethal situations were just egregious as fuck.
Yeah.
Like the Bastion situation on Rialto.
That's
it's just unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
I just have a picture of that, actually. That'd be like good uncoachable exclusive, you know?
So for
like
context,
the law, yeah, you can do it.
What was the suburb that you guys lived in, so I can search Google Photos?
It was like Santa Monica.
Okay.
So yeah, so the
do you want the
context.
street?
No, the Santa Monica should do, I think.
The context was we were attacking Rialto and we were having.
We could never attack Rialto.
We couldn't get out. We
Rialto.
just couldn't get out of that choke. We just couldn't get out of that choke. You know, when you go top and then you try and come out, and it's just too hard. Couldn't do it. You know, always would get naded or something would go wrong. And the lethal solution was like, just go Bastion, bro. And we were like, yeah, but we go Bastion, we form. They'll take maybe a step back to not get shot by all the bullets, and then we'll get naded again anyway. And he was like, no, it'll be fine. Which means just Bastion, and then they have to give you the space. And this just went back and forth for ages. For literally, I don't even know how long. To the point, there was a time even the Gladiators guys came round just for a few drinks one night, and it came up and Lethal was giving them the crackdown.
He was like the idea was like, this was before Bastion was Meta 2, right? Like this wasn't like the Bastion like playoffs. Like, this was like dog shit Bastion. And he insisted that even in like this like a dive mirror, what you need to do is you need to win the first fight to spawn, go back, swap Bastion, you'll cap the second point with Bastion. And it didn't make any Overwatch logical or any fucking reason. But he thought, yeah, if you get ults on the bomb at the end, it's really good. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. And he was just insistent on it. Like, and we would take the piss, and he was like, no, I'm serious. And it would be like a fucking 2-month argument where he was just the only way to cap Rialto. It was just clearly a Bastion map.
Didn't we do it once, and it just also did not work? Just to like an attempt to shut him up. And then he still it was just like an execution problem in the end from his point of view. Like, no, it was, the theory was fine. It was just, just went wrong. Then, Big Arms Jacob, which player do you get along with best with which player do you get along the best with if you don't want to hurt any feelings? Which player that you don't currently coach? Oh, okay. So yeah, which player do you get on with the most, essentially? Then there's, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think probably like Astro Haddy for me.
I got on really well with Poco, actually, I think, as well. Like, I think Haddy as well. Haddy and Spark are two people I've worked with, like, for so long now. Basically, our entire, like, Overwatch careers, really, in one form or another. So I get on with them really well, but Poco was probably the person I spent the most time with when we were at the London house. Got on with him well.
Yeah, maybe Gator for me. I think you know, Haddy, Astro, both very, very solid, but you know, just to draw from another team as well, and someone that I still like regularly talk to and have a good relationship. Probably Gator, because it was like, even if he was a bit of a fucking idiot, I feel like we got along very, very well in person. It was like always fun, always a good time. He's a bit of a flake though. He winds up shutting himself in his room more than you'd expect, but top bloke.
Blake the Flake.
Blake the Flake. It's in the name.
Then Orange Slayer says, what is your favourite Spilo title?
I think you have one, You Are Not Good Enough. That's what I thought.
I don't know any of those. I'd have to look them up.
Yeah, in order to have a favourite Spilo title, I'd need to know a Spilo title, so it's not going to happen.
I'm a Spilo fan.
Sure you are, man.
Spilo hate watcher.
You like watching so that you can hate more, or?
Exactly. That's like half of my life is just like people I hate, watching them to gain more hate.
You did go through a phase. You went through a phase where you were like, every client of the week, you were like, Spilo was top of your list.
Yeah. Just for one like egregious video or another, you know? Just saying something.
I saw he was getting, I don't know if you've been on the subreddit recently. I go on the subreddit and it's just a billion people talking about the fucking patch. And Spilo is front and center, and he's riled some people up.
This patch is the same as all Overwatch patches. It looks
it's just
big,
fine.
You play it doesn't fucking change anything. But clients will be clients no matter what.
Okay. So then, I've not actually checked this one out beforehand, so we'll see how it is. So, Debatable asks...
I'm not doing the Smash. How much does Debatable... Oh, he's got purple. That's probably a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, Debatable.
I literally never played Smash.
I think I played it like literally once or twice at a party or something.
Not doing it. I originally clicked on it. I thought it was going to be like Smash or Pass. You know, it's going to be like like mildly misogynistic, but worth doing type thing. But it's not.
Oh, it's like one of those figure out your hero type ones. Okay. Debatable does also ask, this one I think we can answer. What do you think the highest rank someone could get while working a full-time job 9 to 5? I think there's no reason you couldn't actually be one of the top ranks.
Yeah, I think so too.
You could definitely be top 500 while working full-time.
100%.
Yeah, I think as much as like a lot of people will be like the classic, like play 12 hours of ranks every fucking day, you can do really well only playing a few hours of ranked. It's not like it's not a direct correlation between time in versus results out. Okay. Rock says, wait, it's an Overwatch question. Someone's actually trying to pull from our years of coaching experience to ask Overwatch advice. God damn. This might be an uncoachable first. So Rock asks, what's the point of playing Bat Brig in the Sig Mirror over Bat Zen? Wouldn't the Zen be more value when there's no dive threat?
When you play Brig, you can walk into the enemy Sigma and fight really hard.
You end
when
up
you
doing
play
more
Zen,
Sigma damage. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to play really wide and slow when you play Zen because you need to play Spilo Theory angles. But if there's a position where you can just walk forward and walk over the enemy team, then Brig is perhaps better than Zen in those situations, because Zen can't walk over anything. If Zen tries to walk forward without being in a wide angle, they just get walked into and die. So
there's so many ways Zen can go wrong, you know, like just one tracer out of position cut. What, like every flux is going to kill you, every like pulse bomb, like Zen is just like, it requires almost like perfect. Like I think if you had a bot, Zen would beat Brig, but like once you account for like human error and just like slight team play mistakes, Brig just made like, it's so much harder to fuck up on the Brig.
Yeah, I think the Zen is still better in like, there's certain niche situations where the map just makes it so much better. Like Midtown last is probably a good one, right? Or maybe even Kings Row last, where you only have to play in a fixed position and you have like the map just really suits for Zen and you can get away with it. But I think like 9 times out of 10, if not more, for Brig, Brig will just do more. Then I guess that'll probably be the end of the Overwatch questions, as the next question is from Psycho Shiro, who says arse or boobs.
I think
boobs.
Really?
I was going to go arse.
Why not, you know?
Yeah, everyone's an arse man these days.
That's a pretty uncontroversial take, you know.
I feel like it must these days. I feel like it's like 90% ass, 10% boobs. But I mean, good on you, Max. Yeah,
thanks, man.
Good on you, mate.
Okay, then Rock asks, where did the term client come from as it's used on the podcast? Like, is it some sort of British slang? Did it originate somewhere in legal on London? I learnt it on London, but it was mainly, the expression was used like client as in the client of a booster or something, you know? So if you're playing against someone in ranked and they would just fucking shit, you'd be like, this guy is clearly a client because he clearly isn't actually able to play at this level. And then it just kind of transcended into real life as well. So you're like, oh, you clearly must have been boosted to this point in life because you clearly can't function in the real world or something. That's my memory of it, at least.
It is. I believe that's the correct context. But obviously, we have done more for this word than anybody else. You know, we have spread it to the masses.
All right. Then the next one is a video clip. So I can bring this one
Let's
up.
all queue it up. We can.
I just watched it. Is this real or is this AI? Like, there's no way that Mark Cuban is this clued in. Like, his answer's actually so good.
Oh, really? I'm not actually. I'm not
watch this clip. No, watch this shit. It's actually crazy. Is this AI?
Get to 000.
Yeah, I'm on treble 0.
Count me in, boss.
3, 2, 1, go.
I heard that you said that you would not buy a League of Legends team last year because of player overload.
Yeah, it is, right? And so they change everything all the time, whether it's Overwatch, whether it's League of Legends, Fortnite for that matter. It's not really an esport, but still, you know, when it's a 5 person team and the meta changes every 90, 120 days, it's like a whole new game.
Ooh. Maybe it's real because he used to own a League of Legends team, no? Like he used to own one back in the day. I think, yeah, like I'm sure he was like OG investor. So I don't know, maybe it's AI. That's the thing. AI is so fucking good these days. It actually could be, but
could be completely fake. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a reasonable from a business point of view, right? Because that's what he's really coming from, not from like a gameplay or balance or competitive integrity. From a business point of view, I can probably understand it, right? Like you sign a team full of top players, then the meta changes, and all that money you spend it doesn't work anymore, you know, or something. I can imagine that being like something that doesn't happen in most businesses, right?
Yeah, I think that I'm surprised that that's the approach that he took to it in terms of like describing issues with investing in esports, though, just because I mean, my understanding of like why esports is like a particularly difficult thing to invest in is because, you know, like not only are people coming from a position where like they're very used to getting to watch all of these things for free, you know, it's not like a UFC where you can watch, where you can like pay to watch the matches usually. That model's not really adopted. But the people that watch esports, they're like a terrible base of people to monetize from, you know, like the people that watch esports are typically like kids, teenagers, young adults that don't have lots of disposable income, you know, like you're much better off in a business where you're marketing towards people that are in their mid to late 30s and onwards, because those people actually have money to spend. They have disposable income. Whereas esports fans, you know, they have almost no disposable income. So they're just like a terrible group of customers, you know, like if you make, say for instance, if you have a YouTube channel and you make videos about gaming, you're not going to get a very good what's it, it's CPM or whatever it is. Like your advertising return will not be as high as if you are a finance YouTube channel, because a finance YouTube channel, advertisers view those viewers as more valuable, so they will pay more per 1,000 clicks or whatever, or per 1,000 ad views. So gamers are inherently like it's just a cheap demographic, you know. It's a demographic that doesn't have a lot to give. So, you know, I thought that was going to be the problem for Marky Mark, but instead he's talking about meta changes in video games. So big up.
Well, I think as well, I think what's also true in like all businesses is you sort of, the customer gets used to what the price is. So if you lose, like, I don't know if it's the same in like Australia, but in like the UK, Domino's is a pizza chain and it's super fucking expensive. But it was always 50% off available, right? So then it just became the thing that you would actually, no one would ever bother paying full price because you can get 50% off frequently enough. So everyone just sort of learns that's the price, to the point where now Domino's just have 40% or X amount off vouchers just active all the time, you know? They've just accepted they've done that. But similarly, I think Amazon has the same problem where they've just convinced people that delivery is a free service. But if you actually ask any business not the size of Amazon, delivery charges are a huge part of their expense, and it's really hard for them to provide free delivery. And what they normally do is the products just get more expensive and then you get free delivery. And I think there's the same kind of thing, whereas if you look at all the esports events, everyone has been watching these things completely for free, compared to, say, the NFL or the Premier League or the Champions League, where everyone is used to paying for it in some form. And that's just like the fundamental problem, I think, with making any kind of consistent money off esports.
I'm not sure how interested our viewers would be in this, but I'm actually quite interested with what you said, just because you described Domino's in the UK as like a known expensive pizza chain. But my understanding of Domino's is that it's like a lot of their growth is due to the fact that they're like a very low cost pizza chain. You know, like they're out competing like, you know, your mom and pop stores, because they're like basically like some of the cheapest pizza you can get, at least in Australia or whatever. You know, there's
in England
like the
yeah,
no, it's like
really expensive. Yeah, like,
outrageously so. Yeah,
and like, it's like when we were in uni, we would get Domino's only if there was a 50% off code in our. Like, if you tried to pay full price for it, you're paying. Even with 50% off, it's about the same price as local shops. But you just like Domino's is quite. I mean, Domino's is pretty tasty.
That's funny. In Australia, it's like the cheapest pizza you can possibly get. It's like, you know, it's like a $5 pizza. It's
in the US too, right? Like when we tried to like Little Caesars has it beat because Little Caesars is the goat, but actually like those like Domino's and stuff were pretty cheap. But in the UK,
no, their slice of the market, like the way that they differentiated themselves and like the platform that they grew on, is definitely like extreme low cost pizza, not a premium product. But maybe it was different for the UK.
I think what was also true in the UK is Domino's was around for so long. Like, I remember getting Domino's as a kid. We would only get it like once a year because, again, it was so fucking premium. But at the time, there wasn't a lot of things you could have delivered. So Domino's was the delivery service that was commonly available across the UK. Everything else was maybe you have a local Chinese. But we're honestly speaking like 3 or 4 places in my probably like mid-sized town that would even consider delivering food, compared to now where you could have anything from any shop in the entire country probably delivered to you if you got the right app. So that was the pizza business segment of the podcast.
One of the better.
Then Big Arms Jacobs asks, what type of questions are your favourite to answer in the Q&A? Obviously the pizza related ones. The Overwatch question we got earlier reminded me that we never answer Overwatch based questions on this. It's always like I don't know.
I was like talking about like the industry, like a lot we did with the collegiate one at the start and stuff like that. It was like the slightly more than I enjoy like meta questions and stuff. But yeah, I love like coaching theory, you know, like how to roster build, fucking like mold players, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer like pretty much any question that didn't come from Orange Slayer, to be honest.
That's fine.
All right, then Tarjan asks, Riot can make a $500 bundle, and this is obviously the faker bundle if you didn't see it, and get away with it. I'm going to assume you guys don't buy any cosmetics. What would it take for you guys to fork over your money to the $1 trillion company? So I never really buy in-game items or cosmetics that often. I've maybe bought a battle pass once or twice for some games. but I'm always quite happy to like play for free, you know? Even when I played like Magic the Gathering, which is a game that you would benefit quite a lot from spending money on in terms of building the meta decks and stuff. Even then, I would just kind of tank it, you know, and just use for like the in-game reward system to get free currency. I don't know if you guys are the same.
Yeah. No, I've never bought a skin in my life. Like, I literally don't even like recognize my hero has a skin when I play games, you know? Like, it's like, I've played Diablo and I've like unlocked all of these like free passive skins on the battle pass that you get for free. And I literally haven't even clicked on them. Like, I literally didn't even realize like I could get a different horse or something, you know? But when games make it like effectively like pay to win, like Hearthstone Battlegrounds, if you had bought the perks, you could get to choose between 4 heroes instead of 2, which was a competitive advantage because you had like 2 extra options to roll a really strong hero. And I would always buy the battle pass. When I was playing, what's it called, Marvel Snap, I would get the battle pass because that would come with 1 free hero, and you basically needed to spend money to buy the new characters that they were releasing every week. So for me, if you make something pay to win, I'm probably I'll give you my money to make it pay to win. If you make it pay to look cool, you're never getting my money, which is probably a bad thing, because that's how games are pay to win.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Chris. I don't think I've ever bought a skin. I've bought like a couple of battle passes. Like I think I bought like 1 Fortnite battle pass once, maybe, and I bought a Warzone battle pass once, and then after you buy one, you can buy the next one forever. And Warzone is like completely pay to win. Like you need the battle pass guns for the seasons. So you know, I'll buy something if it means that my enjoyment in the game goes up through access to the pay to win guns that make the battle royale completely fucking impossible without it. But I never ever buy skins for video games because it's just a colossal fucking waste of money and a very addictive behavior. I think it's one of those things where it's like if you grew up without someone getting up at you about financial responsibility and stuff like that, it's very easy to form a habit where you do something like that, and you know you can give away $5, $10, $15, $20, however much the fucking skins cost here and there. But then you know you actually look at like how much you spent on a video game overall, and it's like, oh Jesus fucking Christ, all that money on imaginary skins. It's like I pretty much play with the default skins in every game, you know. Like that being said, there's a Nicki Minaj skin in Warzone, and I thought that was incredibly fucking funny. And if that ever came back into the shop rotation, I would pay the $15 to get that, because that shit is way too funny. It's just like a squad of 30-year-old men and we're all playing as Nicki Minaj. That's funny. But I think that
that's worth every penny, to be fair.
Well,
Fortnite skins are the best by far, right? Like Fortnite actually gets skins because it's actually just like
yeah, okay, it costs pretty good with it too. It's just I wouldn't do it with the sole exception of Nicki Minaj in Warzone, which
what about Peter Griffin? You never wanted to do the Peter Griffin skin?
Well, you only had to buy the battle pass for that. But you know, I wouldn't have paid for Peter Griffin. Like, it's so oversaturated. It's a battle pass skin, dude. Like, it's so oversaturated. There's nothing unique about that. There wasn't a Nicki Minaj battle pass, dude. You had to be like a real Nicki head.
You had to be a Nicki head.
It's like you can see her BBL in the skin. It's fucking insane. Boss men rise up. You know?
I'm hopping on Fortnite, boys.
Okay, then DDP Op. I guess this is like a call-in Ask for Life advice. DDP Op wants to know, were they right for leaving their team when the entire coaching staff said Queen was the only playable tank on Flashpoint and told me Ryan Theory on Circuit is bad?
I think if that's your rationalization for leaving the team, then maybe you need to look inwards. You know, like maybe you're a part of the problem too. Maybe you're stubborn, you know, you're incapable of convincing people otherwise, and instead you had to leave in a fit of rage. But you know, I think the theory side of your answer, you know, you're probably in the right here. You're on the right side of history. But to leave a team over such a discussion, I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit more to it.
There's probably like a context thing here. Is this the final straw, or was this, you know, just out of the blue, we got to play Queen here, and then you rage quit, you know?
How many straws are on this camel's back right now? You know, we're only getting a very limited slice of it.
And then Rock asks, am I dumb for trying to one-trick ball in scrims? Do all of our Patreon viewers only play one hero? Because DDP Up, I think, is very much a Ryan.
Yeah, I think There was definitely a few non-ballable maps, but honestly, go for it. Slay Queen, you know?
What would Junbin do, you know? And then this next one is from Debatable. Is an advert, which we're happy. We're going to do it. So Debatable wants to know, do we know of any USA Overwatch players who would join a collegiate roster in Michigan? Know of a Nexus is the director's Discord. The school offers pretty good sponsorships. I wasn't sure where I was supposed to this, but thought this would be a good signal boost to get them some players down at Michigan. So if you are interested in going to collegiate in Michigan, why not?
If you are interested in advertising, you are going to need to be at least the purple name on Discord, okay? You cannot just get adverts on Q&A for the blue names.
I hope we get some like
signal boosted.
I hope we get some like Wrexham style ones, you know, like when it's just like Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney just advertising like a local trailer rental service or something. So if anyone has like a trailer rental service or something, we'll push that quite easily. So this next one is Fronta from Rock. How do you feel about this team, Zeta Division, mercilessly murdering Yaki? So this is obviously the news that they were picked up by Zeta Division, but it feels like Neko and Yaki didn't make the cut, and then Changoon has been... I think Neko had military service, right?
Oh, yeah. Neko's on the
I'm sure that's why they had to get rid of Yaki too, you know? It wouldn't have been a competence thing. It would have just been necessity.
That's a relief.
I don't have strong feelings. I don't really hate Yaki that much, you know? Like I have no idea what his
it was just funny,
chops would have been like. Yeah, I have no idea what his coaching chops would have been like. I can't imagine he would have been a very good coach just because he spent so much time on YouTube Shorts. I can't imagine that coherent sentences together.
What if the YouTube Shorts were about coaching?
Well, they weren't, but you know.
Then Rock asks a string of them from Rock. Do you guys ever think about jumping off a cliff after the Gator episode? No. Not personally, no. Any?
No.
All right.
Nope.
All right. Then Rock asks, with the hindsight of being from the future, when you read this, do you think the newer matey can live up to their previous roster of Happy Pelican and Hawk?
No.
With the power of hindsight, no. For what it's worth, I think there's a theoretical argument if this was FIFA and I just bought these guys as my FIFA team, but it was Overwatch, it's actually a very good roster. Like I think Tree and Spectre are super high on. I think UV and Lyra is fine, really, as far as you can go in North American backlines. And I think Kluge, again, decent, but the reality of it is not going to be like that at all, as we have seen. I think Lyra was in my chat the other day saying very much, yo, we're not scrimming at all. Good luck to us. Which isn't a great
Always
moment.
good to flex that actually, you know. So very good.
Yeah. All right. So Rock then wants thoughts on this strategy he's employing called the Q&A sandwich, where I ask a legit question followed by a stupid, followed by another legit one.
Does he think that this third question is a legit one? Oh, no, this is a fourth question. This is like
the fourth question. This is referencing the sandwich, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great strategy.
Yeah, pop off, man. See, Sapper had a good response, but he's long gone, so...
Yeah,
and a fallen member of the culture war.
R.I.P. Sapper.
Banned him and gone. Then...
Can you unban him?
I can, but I don't think... They very much
do
left
you think he'd resub?
He would.
It was like it was a full rage quit where it was like banned from Twitch, immediately left the server, immediately left the Uncoachable server.
All I'm saying is for the price of an unban, we could have a, what's the tier called? We could have a somewhat uncoachable sub. Snap of a finger.
Snap of a finger.
Yeah.
This next one I think is mainly for you, I guess for all of us, but mainly you might have the most insight here, Hunter. How good is Top Dragon? What's the true power level?
I don't really know how he stacks up against like the top level KR talent, to be honest. I think he's pretty good for like a Korean player playing with Westerners, you know. I think he's really good, you know, because he has like he has higher skill than like a lot of the Westerners that he competes against, and he has good English, and he has a good understanding of the game. He's able to translate that good understanding of the game into meaningful communication that can actually help the Westerners play the game better too. So I think he's quite a good player, but I wouldn't put him on like a Pelican tier or something. I think that'd be a bit much. No offense, Toppy D, but you know, like
I don't think he watches the Q&A.
that's all right. He'll probably get like some like cobbled together translation from one of the fans.
My impression is he's super high talent. He kind of sits in that, like, maybe I've said this before, but I feel like the comparison is maybe like Who Are You or something, where he's clearly just got really high mechanics, but you're just waiting for it to translate on like a real team at a real tournament or something, you know, or consistently. But certainly every time I've watched him, he's looked really good. But I've also only ever seen him play in Saudi E-League and the OCE Grand Finals, which might not be the most rugged of tests. So then Psycho Shiro says, what's the baddest you've ever fumbled?
I'm guessing it's not meant to be about Overwatch, but Houston Outlaws, when we lost 3-2, is the most unlosable series on every single map we lost. It's won up until we lose like 2v5s consistently.
Actually, if you want to do the Overwatch ones, because you could also throw in one after that, not putting Boston in the other group. That was probably in a fumble category. You could probably also say the reverse sweep at Hawaii, where we were 2-0 up against Florida, and we were stomping them. Then we lose Gibraltar, whatever. And then we just crumble from there. Like, that was such an unlosable series. That became really unwinnable once it started going wrong. So those probably felt like the biggest fumbles that stick out in my head.
Junker Queen meta with Gladiators. Assuming we're not talking about fumbling women. Junker Queen meta with Gladiators.
Yeah, I think it's for ones where you know you could and should have won. And it was within your grasp, but was not. Then, most embarrassing / cringe thing you ever said or did growing up now you sometimes randomly remember.
It's going to stay in my head to haunt me, you know, like once every couple of years in the middle of the night, you know. That's for me. Like I can't even remember it, to be honest. But you know, it's one of those things where it's like I'll literally be lying in bed, and then like, you know, the cringe thought from multiple years ago will resurface. But to be fair, like I feel like that doesn't really happen so much nowadays. Maybe when I was like more of like a teenager or something, you know, there'd be like the moment of introspection. But I think I've gotten like old and arrogant enough that I'm incapable. I'm incapable of introspection and self-reflection. So now I don't even think about things that I've said in the past.
Yeah, got much better at just moving on mentally as well. Just like, nah, I think I was probably fine. Don't worry about it.
I'll say that if a $50 patron asks, I'll tell you. I can't give up a secret to bullying me for this little money.
I'll throw my sister under the bus because I don't know why, because this one always sticks in my head. But I remember we were at the zoo, so for context, 2 parents, 3 sisters, so big old family. My sisters were quite young. My mum took my sisters to use the toilet, and then as they came out, obviously they'd all shared a cubicle, as you often do, parent and children. And my sister thought it was really funny and couldn't stop saying quite loudly in quite a crowded zoo, "Mummy has a hairy bottom." And for some reason, that's just one of the core memories I had. Sticks with me, and I imagine it was really upsetting really embarrassing for my mum to have to deal with this.
Well, at least we only have a few Patreon subscribers, so it should be okay.
I'll be honest, I don't think my mum's super on social media, so I think it's
She might dodge as well.
Yeah. Then this isn't from Orange Slayer, but it's an Orange Slayer level question from Psycho Shiro. Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I think 100 duck-sized horses would be easy to fucking kick.
Yeah, I think a horse-sized duck would have me dead to rights, you know?
Yeah.
Just fucking the bill. Is that the right word?
Horses are big, dude.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
but exactly, that bill would be
old.
so, it pecks you and your arm's broken. You're crushed.
Yeah.
Fucking chow you down.
I assume that the bite force would like increase proportionate to the size of the creature. So eventually you're just like, you're in the danger zone. You'll take on the
It's
100.
like a super
100
crocodile at that
miniatures.
stage, you know?
It's essentially like fighting a T-Rex probably at that point. And then this one, very much in the same vein. How many versions of 12-year-old you could you beat in a fight before you got
7.
exhausted?
That was a confident answer. You just ready for that.
Yeah. It's in the interest of time, you know?
Okay. Yeah, I reckon I don't know, 6 or 7, sure.
I think like 10 plus. I was pretty fucking skinny, dude.
Yeah, you're pretty jacked now. You could
Fuck
probably
off. I was unathletic and small. I reckon I could kill myself many times over.
easily.
Yeah.
I'd back you over you any day.
Thank you.
All right. Then would you rather be constantly sticky all over your body or constantly itchy all over your body? I've got to be sticky, I think. Yeah,
I'm sticky pilled.
It's sticky for sure. People live in humid environments. They live like that already. Constantly itchy, that's like having eczema everywhere. Oh, I'm good.
Yeah. Then what animals do you think you'd be able to take in a fight?
Skip. There's too many animals.
There's too many animals.
Skip.
Then this one's just for Hunter. What would be your strats if a great emu war happened today?
Chemical warfare.
What's the Great Emu War?
They tried to eradicate some emus that were like pest emus in Australia, and they sent some military people over to like kill them with guns, but it was just like a horrifically inefficient method of culling the animals. So they they kind of like made jokes about it in the newspapers and stuff like that. Like the military loses war to the emus because they didn't adequately kill the emus to cull the population. So I'd say that with the benefit of hindsight and maybe like 100 years of chemical warfare development, I'd go with chemical warfare. I'd poison them. Maybe like splice their genes so that they're incapable of reproducing. Something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we do that with mosquitoes already. We release massive amounts of mosquitoes that have been genetically modified to be incapable of reproducing into areas that are full of mosquitoes that are spreading like malaria or dengue fever or something. And then because they try to reproduce with the ones that are genetically fucked, then their population goes down. So I'd just do something like that with the emus. I'd fucking trick them with science.
Yeah, we gotta be light years ahead of them scientifically. Yeah. No way we'll be able to reverse engineer that genetic engineering.
Yeah, guns jam, but nothing can go wrong with experimentation of genetics.
Okay, then Tarjan asks, is 26 degrees actually hot to you Brits? Yes.
100% yes.
100%.
I like it until it's time to sleep, and then it's a fucking pain.
I've actually had to buy a portable air conditioner because my bedroom is like the converted loft room, so it would just gain all the heat throughout the day and be impossible to sleep in over summer. So I've got a portable air conditioner now to save my sleep. I think we've actually answered this one from Psycho Shiro as well. It says, ever thought about making the Q&A vid bi-weekly? And the answer is, if your name is Chris, yes. And then that's the end of the people who have thought about it.
Yeah, actually, instead of making it bi-weekly, we're releasing it once every month and a half.
We're going to get slowly further and further behind. So then, Wanagog asks, I have a vague memory of Shockwave saying he got an offer from Shock for Season 4, but declined since Ans was on and off playing. How do you think Shock would have looked with him on the team? So I guess the hypothetical roster is Season 4 Shock, but with Shockwave instead.
I mean, he wouldn't have played as long as Ans was there, he would have only played in like a... Because Ans' Ash was also insane.
No, Season 4... No, this is Season 4, not Season 3, right? Season 4, Ans was useless. He came back in the middle after retiring and was just shit. Wasn't he? Because he retired after Season 3, absolute domination, had a big break, and then came back and was just worthless to the team. They tried him a couple of times and he wasn't very good. I think having Shockwave in wouldn't have fixed much though, because I think that he wasn't all that great at the time, and I think he was probably at a time in his career when he wasn't very good in terms of performing well. Maybe he would have been better than Glister though. I think Glister was a pretty average player as well. So maybe they would have been like a little bit better, but I'm hard pressed on that. Like, I'm a bit of a Nicky hater. His name is Nicky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Nicky hater for sure. So like, I'm low on Shockers.
Unless Van Nicky's surname is Minaj.
Then big on Nicky.
Bodacious.
Then Tarjan says, let's say you guys were put in complete control and Blizzard is powerless to stop us of the esports product at the start of Season 2. So Season 2 of Overwatch League, I presume he means. Could you save Overwatch League?
No.
No.
No one could. It couldn't be profitable. The numbers required to be profitable, it was never possible. There was no...
The entry fees
no matter
too
how
high.
many no matter how many hindsight, like on Monte Cristo and stuff, they'll say, oh yeah, if we listen to my ideas, no. Like Overwatch doesn't have the capability to be a game that can justify $20 to $35 million buy-ins. You know, it's just, you could have maybe like made it more, could have streamlined it earlier, like maybe 1 or 2 decisions could have maybe given it more of a chance. But I think in reality, this business venture, the cost was too high for what you were ever going to get back.
And then Psycho Shiro wants our opinion on this brain dead tweet. So Psycho Shiro already given away their opinions on the tweet. So the tweet is in response to a tweet that says, boy friendships last so long, what's wrong with us girls? And then the tweet in question that is being called brain dead is, male friendships last because they are based on hedonism, are low risk and lack depth. Most of them rely on alcohol to get together and tend to avoid any confrontations to keep things kumbaya, but on the low they actually hate each other and compete with one another.
Yeah, I probably don't agree with it. I definitely don't think we hate each other, unless, Max, do we hate each other?
I mean, you and I hate each other, but I don't think that we're a good example of a male friendship.
You guys are just male colleagues who happen to work in the same podcast office.
I think, well, I mean, this is, no. Yeah, I don't know.
The problem with this,
how are we engaging with this tweet?
The inherent problem is it's nonsense to begin with, because what it's automatically doing is assuming all male friendships work in one way and all female friendships work in another way, right? And
I agree with that bit, though.
There's some kind of clear gender divide in terms of how friendships work, when there's, in reality, there'll just be...
I think there is.
You think?
I think there is. Okay, so, I think like the bit about like they avoid confrontations and they hate each other is different. But like one thing that drives like my mum crazy, and I guess like my wife too, is like if I go see one of my friends, or even if I go see my dad, they'll ask like, oh, how is X person? When are they doing this? Like they want to like know about like the people or the things that they're doing, you know? Like, but actually when I go out with my friends and even with my dad, I don't talk ever about that shit. It's always just about like stuff, you know, like the fucking, how Joe Biden's fumbling the bag, how like England are going to win it all or whatever it is, you know? So if you ever ask, like if I go out with one of my friends, oh, how's his sister doing? I have no fucking clue. I knew she was pregnant from like however many weeks ago, but I genuinely don't know because we don't ask that. So I feel like there's like an element somewhere of like, I'm pretty sure that when like my mum or if my wife go out with their friends, their topics of conversations are way more about like people and like the life events as opposed to like these external like fucking like sports or like meaning of life, like shit, you know? So I feel like that's why they say like the low depth, because in a way you don't like, I don't know, maybe this is just my male friendships, but I think you never really talk like about anything internal. It's more about like just like external things. And I feel like this is largely true of all of my friendships.
I don't think that's the same for me. I think what is probably true is my friendships developed more from one to the other. And I've maybe benefited from the fact I've had some of my friends for a long period of time. So it's sort of moved more from one where it's just go out, get drunk, to, I guess, one of more depth, if you want to use that terminology. But I still would say, is that not more just to do with the length of friendships than the...
Yeah, like, okay, so it's not like I don't keep up to date with each other's lives or how's work, blah, blah, blah. But don't you feel like when you go out with one of those old school friends, 95% of the time you're still talking about like, I don't know, like stuff that isn't personal?
it wouldn't in a group setting yet. Like if we go out as a group, those conversations wouldn't happen. Which I think, to be fair, like if I was to use my fiance as a comparison, I think as a group they're more likely to have those type of conversations. Whereas I feel like those conversations with my male friends would just be like a one-on-one conversation or like a small group, you know. But if we went out as a big group, we'd never have like a big chin wag about that type of thing.
Yeah, I think that that's a pretty good way to describe it. You know, like in a group context, the depth of the conversation is very different, and the depth of the relationship is perhaps a little bit different to what you might see in a larger group setting. But I mean, surely that's the case regardless of whether you're a man or a woman. You know, I think at the end of the day, you know, we're reading a tweet that's an explicit judgment of the depth of male relationships written by a woman that is, you know, just observing, you know, what they've seen in their life, you know, and it's like, what are they going to see of a male friendship dynamic one-on-one realistically, you know? Like, it's just, I can't believe we've gotten this in deep on some fucking, like actual trash tweet, you know? It's like a trash, like borderline engagement bait tweet where it's just guaranteed to like rile people up because men will see it and they'll be like, that's not what my friendships are like. I have real friendships. And then here we are podcasting about it. Like, fuck me. Unbelievable. Fuck you, Sikashiro. Like.
Then Jubiok asks, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Now this is where we really want to get in depth. Okay, forget male friendships. This is where we need to invest a lengthy period of time.
Well, that would actually fit the vibe of a tweet if instead of discussing our friendships, we went into a big breakdown of how much wood a woodchuck could indeed chuck. Then I don't know if we'll have an answer to this one, but Walagug asks our thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks' current performance in Game 5. I don't watch. I think it's basketball team, right? I don't watch basketball.
Yeah, we should have scored more 3-pointers.
I think there's people just talking about it. This is people saying how they'd fix the Overwatch League, but you know, I just realised it's the Q&A channel.
Please keep the Q&A channel clean, guys, please.
But someone asked if we can take this quiz, but it's like it's the best 256 players in Overwatch League, so no dice rock, unfortunately. There's too many players. Any recommendations on what OWCS team Orange Slayer should root for?
No, Big Arms Jacob, or have it?
Oh,
no, you're right. Yeah, no, it's further down.
Oh, okay.
Orange Slayer should root for. Was this before? No, OWCS was already over by then, right?
Yeah, and this would have been like during Face It playoffs, maybe, or pre-Face It playoffs.
Yeah. I think Orange should root for Twisted Minds. I think that's a lovable franchise that everybody should support.
Probably on the up as well. Almost undoubtedly on the up. They're going to win the Esports World Cup. Then Big Arms Jacob asked us about this lip clip. So our opinion on this lip clip where he EMPs for Farah Mercy off the map. Since I always see people call it one of the best plays and it confuses me. So I can...
What confuses you about it? He killed 2 people with... one ult and himself. He traded 2 for 1.
Does he kill 2 or 1? I think
doesn't he EMP them both off the map?
I'm flicking to it now. Was it the number 1 playing this clip, presumably?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Farah lives. I mean, I think it is, for what it's worth, I'm fairly sure it is worth for Sombra to kill Mercy, especially current like overtime situation, but there's almost like nothing impressive about this clip. Like I could do this clip and I have no moving hands, you know?
Yeah, he just trades. He EMPs for one trade.
Play. Yeah, because I think trading Sombra for Mercy is for sure worth, especially because it's gonna like leave like Farah. I mean, I guess like Farah does die as a result of the EMP. So is it worth? Yes, but it's not that impressive.
Don't know where all the hype is from.
Because it looks.
I mean, I think it's a pretty good play. Like he hasn't directly killed the Farah, but I mean he's forced a 2 for 1 trade. It's like really hard to EMP versus that comp. Like it's a pretty good play.
Agreed.
It's like the best trade you're going to get with EMP in that comp because everyone else plays like really split unless you're counter diving. So it's good.
All right, then Orange Slayer. You might remember this this one. He says, "What color is this dress?"
Blue and black.
Honestly, it looks blue and black to me, even though I know this is very much in the bait category. Any dissenting opinions? Or have we solved
Nope.
it? Alright. Favorite Playboy Carti song? Context, thinking about child support payments. I not only don't know who this is, I also don't understand. Presumably there's like a punchline here in the context as well that I've also missed.
I don't know.
I'm actually looking
Says
squarely
favorite-
at you, Hunter, as my
They asked what my favorite Cardi song is.
Playboy Carti song.
Yeah. No, that's the one, Cardi. I don't know, probably Magnolia or something. I haven't heard a lot since then. I don't really listen to him, but everyone knows Magnolia. So, well, not Xavier obviously, but he's like 30 years old.
Genuinely not a clue. I guess this one is someone. Do you think Sam will ever play in Overwatch esports again? No, probably not, but I imagine there's also not a lot of like draw for him to do it financially either,
Yeah, I think so too.
Alright. Then Rock asks, do you think the changes fix Colosseo or is it still shit?
I think it's good change. I never hated the map Coliseum anyway, to be honest with you. But I think the first fight is way better now, so I think it genuinely did fix it for what it was.
I don't think it. I mean, I think it's made that part of the map better, but I think also like the low ground to high ground fight after you come out of that tunnel is still really fucked. I think you need like a staircase or something on the other like left hand side from the low ground perspective, just to give the teams a few more options. But I guess it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I don't have a strong view. I haven't watched enough since they reworked the map.
Then Rock also asks, if he was to offer to pay one of us our current coaching prices as a salary, would you quit your jobs to only coach my team? Hypothetically, of course.
Does that mean like my $50 per hour, like full time? Which presumably would be an upgrade of where I'm getting now. But honestly, probably still not. I think I'm in it for the love of the game at this point. That's all I've got left.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I'm like relatively competitive, not to shit on your team, but I think that like a big part of the motivation for working these jobs is like the thrill of the competition and wanting to win it, stuff like that. So I think the private coaching, I mean, I don't even do private coaching largely for that reason, so no fucking way. No way, Rock. Eat shit. Maybe die.
Then, all right, a string of Orange Slayer ones.
Yeah. This guy needs to be shot.
He does. Sorry, Aaron.
The Elden Ring DLC was really good.
Yeah.
Yep. Freebie there for Rock.
Of all our patrons, who would be the best politician? Sorry. No one stands
Oren
out.
thinks that Chris would be a great politician.
What's why that funny?
Do not encourage him. Here we go. All right, well.
I think I could speak to the masses on a populism level. I think I have good ideas, radical change.
Yeah, I think Chris would be an incredible populist politician.
Yeah, I could.
All right. How big of an improvement would Citrus have if they took a page out of Goomba's book and shot Lep in the streets?
Who are they shooting him for?
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Like, I mean, shooting him, that's fine, but if you've got to bring in another guy, also probably requires being shot, then you're just in an endless cycle of shooting people.
Yeah, so. I don't think Citrus Nation's problems are more just they can't all fucking turn up on the same day. It's really hard to play your best when you're always a player down or a player missing. Rank needs 3 countries: China, South Korea, Japan.
China, Korea, Japan.
Just rank them. There's no
sort of like on this, or just I guess like in general.
Oh, goodness. Japan, South Korea, China.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I'd be similar. Maybe South Korea over Japan.
oh,
Maybe that.
some China haters in the midst, but that's okay.
Not a China hater.
They still make, yeah. It's just an ordering, you know.
If you went to China and you told them that you think Japan is a better country, that would be considered a hate crime.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I live in a country with freedom of speech, so.
So this one is from Sapur, who almost certainly will not be receiving his response. Gumba mentioned how North America should tear apart every team outside of Toronto M80 and make a good third team. What would be the roster? Is the question essentially. Would it just be
I don't even know if there is like a clear, like, each team doesn't have like a clear, like, oh, this guy's a superstar, this guy's a superstar, you know? Like, I think if you made this super team and then you just compared them to like current timeless or current shock, I feel like you would probably power rank them the same. I feel like that like third to 6th or 7th in NA, all the players to me are just like one big mess of like the same skill level. Like, I don't, like, obviously the one that everybody will probably point to is like Seeker, right? Like, he'll be the one that everyone thinks, yeah, Seeker needs to be on this team. But like, I don't know, like beyond Seeker, is there like a clear standout for like tank support of a DPS? Maybe you guys watch it more than me.
Not really. I think you're right. It all fits into a blob. Like the biggest talent, I guess technically he doesn't count because he's on M80, but you can probably, with the hindsight of knowing where M80 is, you can probably throw M80 into this sort of blob as well. But like Tree probably is the obvious talent, right, to try and build around, and then maybe UV or something. That's what I mean by like if you were to take M80 from it, that's the only way I think you could make like an all-American roster of significance.
Yeah, I think you could make a better All-American roster by not using All-American players and by utilizing the players that are on like ISU, you know, the European imports. I think those players are like big value adds to the NA scene. I think between the players that are on ISU and, you know, like it doesn't even fit the import limits actually, but, you know, maybe it's like if you had Wamain 1, Admiral, Infected, and then you just kind of like fill in the blanks. You know, you've got like Seeker plus Flex support. You could have something that's like reasonably good there. But I don't know, like they're probably not reaching that top tier because there's not enough like really like super high level stuff. You'd have to give it more time.
It honestly is just basically timeless, right? Maybe you could like make an argument to change a Flex support around, but I don't know, I think Ziza's played fine, at least in comparison to who else is available, right? So maybe it is basically just timeless, at least the Esports World Cup version where they have Infected anyway. Then, where are we? Thoughts on the Heinz beans and sausage pizza? Never had.
Honestly, it actually would taste good. Like, unironically, it would be so good, but no one's ready for that conversation. It actually makes me want to go to Greg's and get a like bean and sausage steak bake now because they're also fucking unbelievable.
No thoughts.
This one is actually in the same vein from Rock. Do you think Timeless would have been more competitive with M80 if they put in a hard tank bot? This is actually Urzo Flame, which feels unreasonable. It was an unreasonable person to come after here, and Urzo should not be the target. All right, on this one will set Chris off. Thoughts on TikTok? Should it be removed from society, or is the American government a bunch of clients?
I think TikTok actually doesn't harness data in a way that your other social media are using. The argument would be, do you think that the Chinese government is like in a way like using your data for more nefarious purposes than the American ones? But I'm not like super sure about that. I think you can make an incredibly solid argument somewhere that you should just ban social media, especially for those below 18. It would probably become like a pretty authoritarian decision, but I think that the net negatives of social media are pretty obvious. However, it's one of those where so much of our life revolves around social media, then it's almost entirely impractical to discuss. And it's probably one of those things where we just need to wait for the suicide rate amongst like teenage girls to hit 20%, and then maybe there will be a topic of conversation about it.
Yeah. I think I'm not too up to speed as to why TikTok in particular is being banned, apart from the fact that they harvest data and they're not American, which I presume is a problem for Americans.
That's just it, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely see big issues with like all of the social media and short form video content. Not that I'm separate from it. I'm hopelessly addicted to all of that stuff myself too. But I definitely think that it's like a net negative for people. All social media has created this like incredible division in the world. It's made it incredibly easy to spread misinformation and for people to misrepresent things, and it just catches on like wildfire. There's a quote about this. I'll circle back with the quote in a minute because I can't remember it.
So we have actually, I'm kind of on the same page. Like I think it's not like a TikTok specific thing that's a problem. It's just for concept as a whole it's like dangerously addictive. And I think it's really hard, especially for anyone to really regulate this. And it becomes a very slippery slope. Then this one, I guess, probably applies more to you and me, Chris. But Big Arms Jacob says, for those who have done private coaching, what's the lowest tier you have ranked and how do you find it? Presumably the lowest tier we have coached someone
I think I coached like one or two like plat players like semi-regularly. And actually like plat players, to be honest, like what I found with private coaching is actually it's almost up to you how much you get out of it. I get private coaching sometimes and people just effectively sit on mute and let me talk for an hour. And I think, okay, you actually are getting nothing from this. It's obvious to me. I get some people who are really engaged, like, okay, that's a good idea. Or what about this? Like, should I do this? Or like active like thinking, and it becomes more of like a discussion where they like have like thoughts or ideas, and we talk about them. I think those some coaching sessions I come away from, and I actually think you've actually gotten pretty good value out of this. Like, I actually think that this is good. And then some, I look at it and I think, I don't know why you would spend this money if all you're going to do is just like sit there and not like ask any questions and interact at all,
I'm circling back with the quote now, ignoring the current topic of conversation. The quote was, "A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes." And I feel like that's a very accurate representation of the TikTok related stuff. Like I watch these TikToks from some guy that just like, he'll basically just like stitch viral TikToks and look at what they're saying and like look at the studies that they're presenting on screen and show how they're all completely the people that are making these incredibly viral videos with millions of likes, tens of millions of views, how none of them are even reading the things that they're citing. Like they will show a picture of a study, and then if you read the study, what they're saying is completely wrong, or they'll be citing something that has been completely debunked beyond belief. But these are the things that catch on in social media, sensationalized titles and extremes are what get people motivated and, encourage clicks and encourage likes and, basically foster engagement. So I think it's an enormous problem, social media. I think that, banning TikTok for the data harvesting thing, that's probably a bit rinky-dink, because all the Western companies are doing it too.
Yeah.
But I think that stuff is a huge problem. All right, back to the current question I didn't listen
to. Yeah, I think for the lowest I've coached, I think maybe gold, like a gold console player maybe. But I think, again, it depends, like what Chris said in terms of what you want to get out of it, right? Like, the person I had, they weren't going into it thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to become like an Overwatch League player. I want to become the best player. They were probably on the older side of like average Overwatch player, but they just wanted to get a little bit better, just so they could see sort of improvement in their self and, try and find a way to level up. And they weren't sure what was always going wrong, because he was like, he plays with friends a lot, but his friends aren't that good either. So we're just wanting that. And I think ultimately, in the same way Chris said, he was talking a lot, asking a load of questions, trying to figure out like, here's how I think about it, but what do you think, or what should I be thinking about? So I think ultimately actually had a good experience. You just need to like try and tweak it a little bit. Like, I think one memory I have of watching somebody coach someone who was like really low level was actually from Cruz. And I think Cruz, I can't remember when maybe it was at like one of the UK fan signing things or something. And Cruz was either doing like a promotional bit where he was coaching someone on Lucio, and the person was clearly like almost just started playing, right? I couldn't wall ride or anything, and just focused super on the basics. And I always remember thinking that was actually a really good example of like coaching to the level the person actually needs, right? Like, don't worry about concepts or comp matchups or just like, well, let's start just rolling like on the wall a little bit more, right? Let's try and be on the wall in these situations, just get used to this and just focusing on those things. So I think that was like a good example that kind of stuck with me, I guess.
Yeah, I've always felt like, before going and like coaching someone new, like a new team or whatever, I always think like, oh God, like what am I going to say to these people? Like it sounds ridiculous, but it's like, oh God, what am I going to say to these people before I've watched it? I have this like fear of the unknown where it's like before I've laid eyes on the gameplay, what am I going to say to this person? And then every time I watch it, I think like, oh, okay, maybe it's not so hard with the current level of understanding to pick something that needs to be talked about. And then like as you get to lower and lower tier players, I think that gets easier and easier, or at least it should, unless you're like this hyper specialized, details orientated coach, because like you can just break things down to like more and more fundamental principles to the point that eventually you're talking to someone where you literally just need to say like, oh, maybe you should practice writing it out on the wall a little bit more, because this hero is actually really good when he sticks to the wall because you can go really fast and get places better. So if you start integrating sticking to the wall into your gameplay, then you will be a better Lucio. Or that big circle around you, if you press E at a time when your health is low rather than when it's full, maybe that will help you individually. Because in a very low rank, speeding your team in is probably let's get real.
It is optimistic. Yeah. All right, then, and this is a classic Q&A question. Any recommendations for movies or TV shows to watch?
Read a book.
No, books are dead. All right, here's one. Okay, this is gonna sound client, but this is actually a fucking genius one. I've met so many people that have never watched Game of Thrones and for some reason have no interest in watching Game of Thrones. I think you're actually missing the greatest television that's ever, especially the first like 4 or 5 seasons. Even the last season, it's not like it gets so bad that it's like terrible TV. It's just the standards were so high. And I feel like I would actually pay a lot of money to have my memory wiped so I could go back and watch it. And when people tell me, oh, I just don't enjoy that type of thing, that's not fucking true. You just need to actually just fucking watch it. You just need to bite the bullet. And I promise you, no one's going to come away from watching the first 4 seasons having regretted watching it. So if you're one of those people, just fucking grow up and watch it.
I think one thing I feel like I've realized is there are certain TV shows, maybe something like Game of Thrones and other ones that are like quite serious shows and quite long form. I always feel like there's a level of like trepidation going into it, right? Like, oh, am I in the mood to watch something long and serious? Or this film's like 3 hours. Will I have the focus? But I always find that actually, as soon as if I just shut the fuck up and start it, it's just fine once it starts, Like it's all just, once you get in, if it's good, you will just enjoy it. Though, one thing I've watched is The Bear. I don't know if you ever watched this, Chris. I remember recommending it to you, but the season 3 of The Bear has just come out. It's probably one of my favorite shows ever.
Is the new season good as well?
Yeah, like you think you make an argument it's probably the weakest season, but in like the same way, like it's still top tier, right? I still thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just the other ones were just slightly better,
Yeah, I didn't even realize that we were going to do a second season of it. To be honest, like I watched the first
second season.
That was like.
It's fucking nuts. You have to watch the second season.
Oh, no, I've watched the second season. Okay. I just thought that after finishing the first season, I thought, wow, this is like a really complete story that was really good. I thought they'd finish it there. But then they kept it going, and I mean, it was good too. But the first was definitely better.
Yeah, I think I'd recommend all of it, yeah.
Movie recommendation? Watch The Big Lebowski. That's a good movie. It's my favorite movie, so I'd watch The Big Lebowski.
All right. Death Row Meal.
Mum's lasagna.
Yeah, Norna's lasagna. There you go. Perfect. Two family lasagna people.
I don't know, actually. I don't think I have family doesn't have like a big family dish or something.
I discovered today Taco Bell delivers to my new apartment. Can you believe that?
Oh God.
Can you believe that?
No way you'd have a Taco Bell delivery for your final meal.
No, I'm just making conversation, Like, this episode is quite short. I need to fill some time.
Yeah, let's keep it moving along.
Yeah, I have a good answer. Can we do the Overwatch purity test? No, because it's like 100. It's like 100 questions. It's not possible. It's really not possible. Maybe Chris has the best insight on this one. This is from A Teal, who says, "What do you think of Rascal? Is his coaching good? obviously, for those who don't know, Rascal actually has the most rings out of everyone, right? Like he won all the time as a player, and then he kept winning as a coach as well. Just maybe how much do you think if it was Rascal is the key, or was it just right place, right time?
I feel like Rascal's game knowledge is like, I guess, like unique. Like he has like he actually has quite a different way of seeing the game. Like when we were on Fusion together, he was still a player, but he, like, everyone would see the game one way, and he would always have like a different perspective over it. So I think like in a way that's really useful to have someone like, especially like as an assistant coach, even a head coach. I think probably the issue with Rascal is like, especially when I was at the end, I think maybe I coached him in his last ever season on Fusion because I think he retired after that. Yeah, the guy had like no passion left for Overwatch. So I think if you're someone with no passion, going into coaching drains your passion way more because coaching is way more fucking boring than playing scrims. So my guess is actually, although he could have been a good coach, unless he solved those passion issues, I'm guessing when he was on Dallas and Atlanta, he actually probably didn't do that much. But that's pure guesswork.
Yeah. I think I heard good things about Rascal overall. I think his players liked him. He's like a sound bloke.
Yeah. I really liked him as a person. And I think he's like smart. I wasn't sure if he would get passion gapped, you know?
Yeah. I see people here saying they blame Rascal for the Atlanta fall off last year. It's like Atlanta probably had the fall off because they changed meta, you know, like they were the best team in the world at that meta, and then the patches changed and they couldn't play that anymore. You know, they were still like top, but there were other people that could compete at that top level. Whereas before they were just like undisputed top because they had the Sombra guy and the Tracer guy and the backline all in one, you know, not to sleep on Dongak, but, you know, I think they had like 4 pound for pound strongest people for the meta. So it was like, yeah, it's hard to come past that. I don't think it's a coaching issue that the patch changed.
And then from Bruv, aimed at Chris and Hunter, unreasonable. Why did you stop playing pro? Was it a quick and easy decision, or was it a more difficult one?
It was, yeah, I mean, I stopped playing because I was shit, I think, is probably the top and bottom of it. It was something that, like, I was actually playing like the best I'd ever been playing going into that World Cup. I'd beaten Fusions and Numlocked for the spot. So I was like, oh, fuck, like, my Winston's way better than it was. Like, I actually felt at the time I was one of, if not like the best like Winstons in Europe, unironically. And I thought, well, my Ryan's always been really, really good. And then I just choked massively on stage and I just underperformed compared to my expectations. And there was just this kind of reality where I was like so average for so long. And I finally felt like I'd actually gotten quite good. I finally felt I was actually playing at a level required to maybe make the Overwatch League. And I got on stage and I just couldn't control like the emotional side of it, even though I'd worked so hard on different like techniques of like doing so. And it was just this reality of like, fuck, like you felt like you'd fixed everything and then you still, when it mattered most, were just shit. So maybe it's time to just like look reality in the face and give it up, unfortunately. Yeah,
similar thing for me in terms of like realism, you know, like I was pretty much like capped out in the ANZ scene, you know what I mean? Like the team that I had, we'd won everything in Australia in the final year that I like played pro, quote unquote. So we were like, you know, the undisputed best team in Australia for the entire year, but it had like no legs internationally, you know. It's like we went to one international thing and then World Cup later in the year as well. And like at both of these events, like we just get dumpstered by the international competition. It was like pretty clear that like I wasn't going to go any further than the domestic scene. Like there was no North American tier 2 team that wanted to, you know, fly me over and have me live over there or something like that. Like be fucking for real, you know? So like being the best in a small pond, like it doesn't really have legs to actually turn it into a job. And I graduated university at the end of that year. So like playing was like my little fun pastime outside of like university. And then as soon as I graduated university, it's like, oh, okay, I need a job now. And coaching was like a job that was immediately presented as a real thing that I could do to earn income. Whereas playing in Australian, you know, playing the best Australian competition, that's not a job. That's like 20K a year. Well, it was like 20K a year of like, you know, fun money, I suppose, to do something that I enjoyed. But I would never make it as a pro because I was like a 22-year-old dude that wasn't going to get any better than where I was at.
Then another question about TVs and movies. We kind of answered that one already. When am I doing a karaoke stream from Oren? Nope, not doing it. Don't think I've ever done karaoke. Big Arms Jacob says least favorite food. Don't know if it's one I particularly hate, but I don't really like any fish. Anything out of the sea, keep it in the sea?
Same. Seaweed too. A lot of like Asian food has like seaweed on it. I find it like just like even like a tiny bit of like seaweed in. I feel like it fucks it up massively. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm not a picky eater. I'll eat anything, so I don't know.
All right. Then, what a legend. Then, any holiday plans? Non-Overwatch based.
We really want to go to Italy because that's like pretty much the only Europe. I guess technically I have been there, but not really. And then I guess most of our holidays involve going back to China to see the wife's family. I feel like, or maybe we really like. I think we really like Asia pilled, so like Thailand, like Philippines, Vietnam. I feel like they're like I mean, Thailand's fucking amazing, actually. Like, after going to Thailand, and you went to, and I'm kind of Thailand pilled actually for what you get.
It's very nice. It's not very expensive, and it's like a very lovely place. You go to like islands, and you can get these like incredible pristine beaches where the water is like so warm. I don't know how you UK boys would handle it in terms of the temperature, though, given that 27 degrees Celsius is like enough for you to want to die. But you know, welcome to Southeast Asia. It's warm.
I think my probably future plans is it'll probably be my honeymoon or with an ex-holiday. I think we're gonna go to Germany, maybe Berlin, and then maybe just to like one of those like, what do you call it? Like all-inclusive resort type things. Just chill out for like a week or something. Maybe in Greece or something like that. Somewhere where there's some nice stuff to see.
I don't know. I'll probably go to Italy and Austria at some point. I've got family in those two countries because that's where my parents are from. So probably go to Italy and Austria sometime in the next like year or so. Maybe I'll like line it up with Stockholm. You know, I know the question said not Overwatch related, but I mean, I'm not going to be qualifying for the Stockholm event, so maybe I'll like line up. Maybe I'll line up. Well, I'm not coaching a team in WCS, so it's going to be pretty difficult to qualify for that. But yeah, maybe I'll line up the Euro family visit with Stockholm so that I can drop over there as well.
And then, if you were to name an airport after an Overwatch Pro, who would it be?
Sir Majid.
I've got great news for you, man. Has any player you ever lived with or spent time with been a good cook?
No.
Ironically, the best cook is Sauna, but Sauna was also famous for like burning his fucking utensils into his food because he just went AFK. So Sauna was the best, but was also sort of terrible.
Sauna was the only person trying as well, so he was the best based on entry alone, more than anything else.
The bar is very low.
Yeah. So a nice quick one here from DDP Op. What do you think of the 6v6 versus 5v5 debate, and do you think the 6v6ers lack brain activity? It's just a nonsense conversation with no reasonable conclusion. Like, nothing's going to change, right? So it's like a whole thing's a failed venture.
Yeah, it's like, okay, is like 6v6 or 5v5 better? I think there was an argument there, even though I really, really strongly think 5v5 is better. But then there was like a practicality element of where the game is never going to add 6v6. It's never like people don't realize queue times were like the biggest reason why they made this change, in my opinion. And unless you can fix like queue, like if you're in gold and you have a 30-minute queue, your game is dead. Players are never going to wait 30 minutes for a game which lasts fucking 10 minutes. 30-minute queues need to be reserved for like fucking the top 100 players who desperately need like a good quality game and don't mind waiting because that's the nature of it. But if you're in gold or plat, you need like a 2-minute queue at all ranks. So regardless of where the gameplay is, practically it has to be 5v5. Otherwise, that's just going to keep happening.
Yeah, I think I agree. Then maybe an easy one, FIFA or FM? FM for me.
I don't know what that means.
FIFA's like the game, like, and FM stands for Football Manager, which is a game where you pretend to manage a team. I play it a lot. We'll get you a copy, mate, and then you can let us know the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I'm good.
Then Targent asks, do you guys have a hero in mind that if released today would be called Broken, maybe Anna or something? Probably not. I don't know. But anything that would come out today that would feel broken, really?
No, I can't. Not really. Sojourn again. Actually, Sojourn right now is fucking dead as of recording this one.
I mean, I think a lot of the heroes they release kind of like a bit broken on release, but it's kind of like intentional. So, yeah. I don't think you could release anything today that would be called broken, like disproportionate to everything else. You know, like power creep has already occurred in the roster, so nothing that was like released before would be mind-boggling now. You know, maybe if they brought out like OG Doomfist now, people would complain about the one shot a lot, like they did before. But like, there's nothing new there.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, good.
That's good to clear that up.
Wait, were you talking in a literal way or more of like in a spiritual way? Can we?
No.
Can
quite,
we see
quite
you?
literally, can you?
Oh, okay. Literally, yes. The other one might be a bit harder to answer.
For a split second.
Maybe skip a few of these. Then DDP Op asks, question for the London guys. How did you guys install such a clear communication style? How much of that is a particular focus in scrims? Who was responsible for it? And generally, how do you get players to buy into it? The context was he watched my video about communicating.
I don't know. I guess I feel like in the first 3 or 4 months at London, I feel like we worked on this type of stuff a lot. You know, I think I remember doing some VOD reviews about like level 1, level 2, level 3 communication, stuff like that. But yeah, I think at the time we just had a group of guys that were like, they really like immediately bought into the idea of like, oh, if we want to win in Overwatch League, we need to do it. Like, we need to do other things better, except just like have better mechanics. And I think like almost every other team in Overwatch League just thinks, let's just be better than the other teams. That's how we win. And I think that like the reason we got buy-in was because it like playing Ryan against Vancouver and winning on the first week of the season that's all you needed, you know, like you take a team that hadn't won the whole season before and winning your first week, then immediately there was like, yeah, we probably need to do these things. And everything in life is like a feedback loop, you know, like if you try hard and then you get success, you're going to try it more and then you're going to get more success. So we basically said, yeah, let's really focus on communication. We explained like the type of calls that we need to make. We did them, it worked. And then from then on, I was like, oh, wow, we can actually win in Overwatch League if we do these things.
I think one thing that really helped sell the idea to the players when you were doing like all your opening presentations and stuff is you talked about like, what's our unique selling point isn't quite the right word, but like, what's the thing that we can do better than every other team in the league? And the answer to that is, well, we look at how many of these teams are mixed teams. Like, we're not that. We can have the best communication, or at least one of the best communications in the league. If we really aim for that, we can do this better than the Houston Outlaws or than the Atlanta Reign or than Florida Mayhem or something, because it's just impossible for them to do it, you know? And I think that really helps everyone buy in. And yeah. It's just a lot of focus. I think as well, we probably did a good job at various times in the season realizing when we were losing for Overwatch reasons and when we were losing for effort/communication reasons of like, let's not throw the baby out of the bathwater. We just didn't fucking say anything, or like this went wrong because we didn't fucking talk. And I think that bled into the players as well, you know. I think probably more on London than any other team previously. There would be lots of times when the players would be quite willing to just accept, it was just, I should have called it and we would have been fine or something, you know? There was quite simple solutions for stuff rather than any fundamental Overwatch problems or something. So I think, again, like, it all snowballed quite positively in that sense. And then the last one actually from June, a nice easy one to finish on. What do we think of Rock's dog?
Yes, nice dog, solid dog, good form, good shape, good eyes, dog. Good dog. Keep it up.
I imagine it will keep it up.
It would be a nightmare if the dog had since we did this video.
I'm sorry for your loss.
In case.
Covered all bases there. So a long one, but we caught up. And then obviously if you want to ask us any more questions, we've already got quite a few for July. We'll endeavour to get it out maybe a little bit more promptly for July. Probably won't be moving to a bi-weekly despite Chris's protests. But yeah, thank you everyone. Appreciate it. Check out the merch store as well if you haven't already. And see you in the next Q&A.